Some moments catch us off guard, not because they're loud or dramatic, but because they reveal the truth about who we are. And on the streets of London, surrounded by thousands of curious visitors, the British Royal Guards are often pushed to the limit. Most people see them as stone-faced symbols of tradition, but every now and then, something happens that shatters that image. Something that reminds us that behind the uniform stands a human being with feelings, boundaries, and a quiet kind of strength. Today's story begins with one of those moments when a group of rude tourists pushed too far, and a royal guard responded in a way no one expected. What happened next didn't just silence the crowd, it changed the way people saw the guards forever. Before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed to TrendMasters US. Tap that like button, hit subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. It was late afternoon near Horse Guards Parade, where the sun dipped low against the old stone walls and cast long shadows across the courtyard. The crowd was buzzing the way crowds always do, kids laughing, cameras clicking, tourists trying to get a perfect photo for their social media feeds. Among them was a group that stood out immediately, not because of their excitement, but because of their attitude. They were loud, impatient, and pushing through the crowd like they owned the place. One of the royal guards, a young man standing perfectly still beside his horse, noticed them long before they reached him. He had already seen people try to touch the reins, shout in his face, even lean on the horse for a selfie. But this group was different. They didn't just want a photo, they wanted a reaction. They circled him like he was some kind of live exhibit. One of them waved a hand inches from his eyes, laughing. Another tried to grab the horse's bridle, causing the animal to flinch. The young guard tightened his jaw but didn't move. His training told him to stay still. His duty told him to remain calm. But deep inside, something hurt, not physically, but emotionally. The disrespect wasn't just toward him, it was toward years of history, tradition, and discipline. Finally, when one tourist leaned close enough to brush his shoulder and yelled, "Come on, mate, do something funny," the guard snapped to life with one sharp step forward and a voice that echoed off the courtyard walls. He shouted, "Stand back from the Queen's Guard." The tourists froze. The crowd fell silent. The sudden authority in his voice sent a ripple through the air, strong enough to make even the horse lift its head. For the first time that day, the rude group felt the weight of their behavior, but the moment didn't end there. Just a few feet away, a little girl had been watching everything unfold. She held a tiny Union Jack flag, her eyes wide with worry. She thought the guard was angry at her. The instant he saw her trembling lip, the guard's whole expression softened. He couldn't speak directly to her while on duty, but he shifted his stance just slightly, a subtle gesture of reassurance. It was small, barely noticeable to most, but to the little girl, it meant everything. She smiled again. An older woman standing nearby noticed the change too. She stepped forward and gently guided the embarrassed tourists away, whispering something they clearly needed to hear. Around them, the mood slowly shifted. The tension eased. People began to realize what many forget: kindness costs nothing, yet it changes everything. A man from the USA who had been watching the entire scene wiped his eyes and later said it reminded him of home, of how one act of disrespect can poison a moment, but one act of understanding can heal it again. And that's what stuck with the crowd. Not the guard's shout. Not the tourists' rudeness. But the quiet moment of humanity that followed. When the ceremony ended and the guard marched away, the little girl waved her small flag once more. The guard, still in perfect formation, didn't turn his head. But as he passed her, his glove brushed the air just slightly, as if returning her wave without breaking his duty. In that brief moment, everyone watching felt it. Respect isn't just something we demand, it's something we give. And as you go through your day, may this story remind you that kindness is powerful, dignity is beautiful, and respect, no matter how small, can change someone's entire experience. Let's choose to be the reason someone feels seen, valued, and understood, because kindness always wins.